Because everybody that wants Jesus, they want something from Him. They're all looking, give me, give me, give me, give me. And so this crowd finds out that He's on the other side, and so they follow Him. They get there. And Jesus sees this crowd coming, and He's so moved with compassion. And the thing that He knows best, He begins to do the thing that He knows best. He begins to touch, He begins to deliver, He begins to heal, He begins to restore, reform, and all of the stuff that He knows best. And here they keep coming and coming, and all they want to do is get from you, get from you, get from you. And you have people come to you all the time. They just want and want and want and want. It's part of the country. There's no McDonald's. There's no Burger King. There's no Whataburger. There's no Taco Bell. Nothing. And the sun is setting. And what the human nature knows best is to do is, you know what? If you can have the most incredible service, pastor. You can have all the healings and the deliverance and everything. But if you're late for a meal, they'll turn on you. Right? It's 12 o'clock. Pastor's still preaching. I hope I don't burn my lunch. Right? And so they get to Jesus and said, listen, it's getting late, man. I know you don't like to eat a lot. But these people, we know they want to eat. And you can heal them, you can touch them, you can deliver them, all the stuff. And if they don't get to eat, they will turn on you because we know them. How do you know? Oh, if one of them faints and things like that, they'll call ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, and said how they collapsed over there. You kept preaching to them for so long. Don't worry about the cancer or you healed their leg or arm or whatever, but they were hungry, man. They passed out. You gotta let them go. Let them go? What do you mean let them go? And in verse 16, there's something happens. So you keep coming to this church. And the people keep asking you. And sometimes you get tired. And you feel like, I got nothing. Really. And in verse 16, there's something happens that really challenged my heart. In verse 16, Jesus looks at all of them because here's a bunch of guys, who have been with Jesus. They've seen everything and all the stuff, all the miracles and all the stuff. And here all of a sudden they see this massive crowd and the faith is out the window. And so they call up and they say, Jesus, let him go. And in verse 16, Jesus does something that absolutely fascinates me. Do you know what he does, Pastor? In verse 16, he tells them, he looks at them and he says, don't make them go away. You find them something to eat. Excuse me. Do you see this crowd over here, Jesus? Do you see how big they are? Huh? And Simon Peter, Simon was he was one of those guys, who stuck his foot in his mouth all the time. And he had a bit of point over here because he said, Jesus, do you remember the time when we had the greatest catch? We caught all that fish. And I told you, let's put it in the IRA and the bank and things like that. And today we'd have doubled the money. We could have fed 20,000 people. No, you said, leave it all over there. Come follow me. And you want me to do what? Matthew, the tax collector. Matthew said, Jesus, do you remember? I had the greatest scam, man. I was the tax collector. I used to get money out of these people, and you told me to give it back to them. We don't even know we gave it to the right people. I told you, let me deal with it. You said, no, follow me. And you want me to do what? Feed these people? We don't have anything. Thomas, the great one, with his hands on his hips and said, I got to see this. I got to see this. All of a sudden, my favorite, Andrew comes with a little boy. He's a vendor boy. And he comes, this little vendor boy, he had the greatest sale of his life. Can you imagine? He sold everything, but he kept 5 loaves and 2 fish. And people usually think loaves, American style. No. When you go in Israel, those loaves are about this big. And the dried fish, he had 5 loaves and 2 fish. And he was keeping it for his lunch, but Andrew said, hey, guess what? You want to see Jesus, right? Yes, but all these big people won't let me get to him because I'm a little vendor boy. He goes, listen, I am tight with Jesus, man. We're Jesus, man. I'm his disciple. We're like this and all. You want to share your lunch? Yes. Let's go share our lunch. So he takes Andrew, shows Jesus, and the disciples look at Andrew and go like, you're not a little bright boy, are you, in us? You bring this little kid over here. You see the crowd? And so this guy takes him and he says, leave me alone. He said, and so and Jesus says, Andrew, what you got? He goes, I got this little boy. He goes, that's good. I'm going to show these people. Watch. What you got there, son? 5 loaves, 2 fish. That'll do, boy. Let me have it. See, as long as it stayed in the little boy's hands, it was 5 loaves and 2 fish. But when the little boy did this, it fed 5,000 men only. As long as we're sitting like this, it's never going to happen. What are you holding on to that Jesus wants you to let go? Brother Robert, you don't seem to understand. We're a church of 375 people as members. I know one day we will be big and then we'll do big things. Really. If you, like that little boy, gave your best, all 375 people, and if one of them fed 5,000, just give me attention, okay? If one of them fed 5,000, if there's 375 people in this church who are members, and if you gave your best, and you took 375, multiplied it by 5,000. Guess how many you will reach from your church? 1,800,750 people from this church. So don't tell me you are little. Don't ever tell me you're little. There's 6 million in this world, and there's 6 billion, and 3 billion have never heard about him. You know why? Because we don't bring our best. We don't bring our best to Jesus. That's why they've not heard about him, is because we're sitting like this. Let your giving outlive your living. Isn't that incredible? Because you see that little boy's lunch. Can you imagine what that little boy did when he took his little basket and he put it up on the shelf? Whenever he would have a bad day, he would look at his little basket and go, I remember that day. I know I'll make it. I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to make it because that day was the best, and there's many more like those days.